we're gonna do. Actually, I'm gonna do a fade in. Welcome back to Ape Talk, everybody. This is me and my friend, bro.
Alright, hold up.
I got whatever.
I
I got
immediately
Nicholas
started sweating.
Gentile. I'm warm too, but I got my friend Nick Gentile here. He's a friend I've known for several years, and he's gonna be adding insight to my podcast. Nick, do you wanna say something about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for that awesome introduction. I'm up here in North Dakota going to university. That's me going to be a PT. But yeah, I've taken some ethics courses, some sociology, so I know a little bit about the topic.
All right, that's perfect. So first, we're going to be discussing two themes. One of them is going to be race and religion. That's the broader synopsis of it, and the second one is going to be, I guess we're going to lightly touch on the religious feminine if we have time, which is basically how religion contributes to femininity and stuff like that. And first off, I want to start by asking you a question,
All
which is
right,
here on
shoot.
my outline. How do religious manifestations in art vary from race to race? What do you think, Nick?
That's an interesting question. So so obviously different races, have different cultures, and that culture is ultimately what would decide like how people interpret different things, but also just like location, what language you speak. Your overall culture is going to determine like what you believe in or what you have issues with in your society and stuff like that. So I feel like it's going to vary a lot, especially with like I don't know if we'll touch on this here, but like maybe some Chinese culture, they're going to have a different interpretation of their religion versus like a European religion.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Very nice job, Nick.
Thank you.
And we're going to be observing just now four different artifacts. These artifacts are songs from various artists. Two of them are from black artists, two of them are from white artists. We're going to be drawing comparisons, or mainly, we're going to be determining how these are different from one another. So the first artifact I have is One Smart N Word by King Ghidorah. Essentially, what this track does is it bounces between not sex, sex, between uh, cuts in dialogue to create a broader narrative. So the way it starts is, see, people are too hung up on the word itself instead of the intent. It's the intent of what you mean when you say something. And then it cuts to a different context with a man saying some smart N-word. We're mostly just going to be talking about the high points, and I'm going to be skipping over a lot of the dialogue, which kind of builds. Um, at one point, towards the middle of the track, King Ghidorah mentions, quote, they claim to be the army of God, but they're far from it. Yeah, but they're more like the devil's army. And that switches, you won't get away with this. Switches, stealing our food, taking our women, they do whatever the hell they want, and that's how it is. Switches, how come no one stands up to them? Switches, emotional problems, low self-esteem. Switches, not much we can do against men like them. And then I'm gonna skip a couple of lines. This skips to a clip of assuming to be an elderly white man. That's at least what it sounds like from the clip. It says, "In fact, the government of the United States is intent on one thing: the elimination of the white race. There is going to be those who of our race who are going to win this battle. They're going to be the soldiers of God." Then I'm going to skip a couple of lines. You must all prepare yourself for what happens. And it ends by saying they claim power in the name of God and they control people through fear and suffering and cold-blooded murder, but now that's going to end. And the track ultimately ends with a woman screaming and proclaiming, "Look out the window." So, Nick, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What do you think that track is attempting to convey to the audience?
Well, I believe it will, like, its goal is kind of to show you a perspective. And so, like, this King Ghidorah is a black artist. He's
Yeah,
probably trying to show how he feels like white people are angry at black people.
100%. No, 100%. You see that throughout it. And we're going to move on to the next artifact. This one's by Kendrick Lamar. It's called Untitled '01. There's actually a lot I would need to read to give the entire context, but essentially, I'm just going to read a few lines. I seen it vividly jog in my brain memory. Life no longer infinity. This was the final calling. No birds, no chirp, no birds chirping or flying or dogs barking. We all nervous and crying, moving in caution, in disbelief. Our beliefs the reason for all this. The tallest building plummet, cracking and crumbling. The ground is shaking, swallowing young woman, with the baby daisies and other flowers burning in destruction. So essentially, what this line of text is attempting to capture is it's the rapture. It is a it's the end of times, essentially, and I think that is a parallel you can draw between One Smart N Word by King Ghidorah and Untitled '01 by Kendrick Lamar. And next, we're going to observe two songs by white artists. These are white Christian artists that I know nothing about really. I just pulled their lyrics from the internet. Some of the lyrics from Alive by POD is Every day is a new day. I'm thankful for every breath I take. I won't take it for granted. So I learned from my mistakes. It's beyond my control. Sometimes it's best to let go. Whatever happens in this lifetime. It just goes on and on. And then we go to another white artist that essentially everyone knows. It's Evanescence singing Bring Me to Life. It goes, how can you see into my eyes like open doors?
That was beautiful.
And then it goes, leading you down into the core where I've become so numb. Without a soul, my spirit sleeping somewhere cold until you find it there and lead it back home. Wake me up inside. Essentially, these two white tracks are very, I guess you could say, optimistic. The first track included Alive by POD is kind of recounting one's blessings. It's kind of going back, oh, every day is a new day. I'm thankful for every breath I take. And Evanescence, even though it has like a cold, kind of, I guess, dark, pseudo dark meaning, my spirit sleeping somewhere cold, its message is ultimately optimistic, and it's to promote it's to promote God, essentially. Save me from the nothing I've become. And obviously, I can cherry pick and find instances of optimism in white music and pessimism in black music. But I'm using these artifacts to display how different dynamics and messages manifest in black and white music. The dynamic in the first two artifacts we observed are mostly kind of dark, and they talk about end of times, and the other one, it's very nice and optimistic. So this kind of ties in with the different methods of prayer that we've observed in class in black versus white churches. As discussed, the white methods of prayer were very like kind of subtle, very sanitized, very kind of like, oh, we're grateful to have what we have. But the black methods of prayer in church are more involved and kind of more, people are more dependent, it seems, on the message they take away from God. And I'm just going to skip a few things and go to the question, why do expressions in religious art vary from race to race? Nick, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
So like as I said at the beginning, as I said earlier on, culture has a very big impact on like things like religion and how people express themselves. So like when you ask the question, why do expressions in religious art vary from race to race, it's kind of like, why does anything vary from like culture to culture? Like people experience life in different ways and do different things in their everyday life that, like you said, like black church prayer versus white church prayer, like the message they take away versus like, I'm grateful for this. Like things differ no matter what, depending on your culture.
No, I 100%. I agree 100%. And and I think there's a really obvious answer. Why do expressions in religious art vary from race to race? I think it, at least for these instances of black art, it is derived from the historical oppression that black people have had to face in this country. So actually, it seems like that's really all the time that we have for today. We're not going to be able to get into the religious feminine. So I want to thank you, Nick, for being here, doing this with
Thanks
me.
for having me on.
This was perfect. Thank you very much. This was Ape Talk with your host, Julian Cantu, and we're out.